Hello, hello. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about environmental toxins. So, while eating really well and having a really good lifestyle is very important, and being able to digest our food too is really, really important as far as our health is concerned. Another prong to health is knowing about environmental toxins, how to identify them, how to avoid them, how to support your body and its ability to remove them. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, why it's important, we're going to talk about the list of toxins, where we find them, our detox organs, our new habits that we can practice that are fairly easy to incorporate, what foods again can help us detox, and then what supplements are really helpful in that as well. So let's pop on to our PowerPoint, because that's really helpful to have visual. Okay, so how to approach toxins. So, I have led many, many detox groups, and a lot of people think that detoxing is basically juicing, or just taking certain supplements and really getting your bowels moving and getting them clear. Now, your digestive system is definitely a detoxification organ, but it's not the only one, and it's not the most, the strongest one, or the one that does the most amount of work. So a lot of people just stop there. So we're going to talk about the other organs and what's really important here. But how to approach toxins. The first thing is to avoid them. The second thing is to avoid them. And then the third thing is to avoid and then to do a detox. And I do think a yearly detox is very beneficial, but I also think, the rest of the time as well, it's really good to know how to support your body and again, to avoid them. So without further ado, why is this important? Well, I think we're seeing a huge rise in neurological disorders, behavior disorders, depression, overall health issues in young children and in people in general. And I think it's frightening, and I think it's for a variety of reasons. And I do think our environmental toxins do play a role here. We're also seeing a lot of infertility and hormonal imbalances. And again, a lot of the toxins that are in our environment are endocrine disruptors, which means that they're hormone disruptors. So there's about 300 toxins found in cord blood of a newborn baby. And that's a pretty huge, big load for a very small being to come out and be strapped with. And it wasn't like that 50, 60, 100 years ago. It wasn't like that at all. So these young children are being born with a pretty heavy load, and then they're also being bombarded with environmental toxins fairly early on. They just are. It's really hard to avoid it. Let's say we don't have kids. I talked about neurological diseases and things like that we're seeing in our children and young people. We can also see the impact of environmental toxins on our animals. Our animals didn't suffer from cancer and didn't suffer from diabetes and kidney disease and all of that years ago. I don't remember an animal with cancer. It was very rare, or they were very old when they got it. So our pets are definitely being impacted by the environmental toxins that surround us. So there's no escaping it. So this next slide is we're basically going to be talking about the 6 main varieties of toxins and their sources. And this is a little bit nerdy, I agree, but I think it's important for you to know. So these are the 6 main varieties. We have something called phthalates and parabens. And these are endocrine disruptors. And where are they found? They are found in your fragrances. They're found in your plastics, so your plastic bottles and things like that, IV tubes, your deodorants, in your personal care. And that includes makeup and things like that. Women are exposed to a lot more phthalates and parabens, phthalates in particular, than men are, just because of all of the personal care products that we tend to use, which is using more than men do. Then we have the BPA, BPSs, and BPFs. Well, I think you might get a bottle that says BPA free. And it might be BPA free, but it's been substituted with a BPS and BPF because it keeps the integrity of that vessel, okay? Hardens the plastic and all of that to keep it like that. So again, we see it in plastic bottles. We see it in the receipts, the thermal receipts. So if you can, don't take your receipt. If you work in a store where you're handling those receipts, try to wear gloves, which might look kind of dorky, but if you're having a problem, I would do that. And again, it's a hormone disruptor. It disrupts our testosterone, estrogen, and things like that. It can also line cans as well. And unfortunately, it's also found in toys. Herbicides and pesticides, we see it everywhere. And again, these are endocrine disruptors. We see it on our foods. We see it on our green belts, our sidewalks. If you're walking down a city block, and there's no weeds, everything's perfect, gorgeous. It's been sprayed with a pesticide or herbicide. The same thing with our green belts on our golf courses and things like that, and our food. So our foods are often, especially our GMO foods, which are our corn, our soy, our canola oils, our cotton, alfalfa, and our sugar beets, those, and papaya sometimes, are our GMO crops. And they are sprayed with glyphosate, Roundup. I'm sure all of you have heard about the big lawsuit with the glyphosate and the Roundup. It is something that is very harmful to us in our environment. We have something called PFAs, PFCs, and PFOSs. Basically, you don't have to memorize this, but basically just think of flame retardants, Teflon cookware, mattresses, pajamas, Scotch Guard, stained master carpets. All of these things are off-gassing or are when they're heated up. Like for the Teflon, it gets into our food, gets into our body that way. All these things are found in our water supply and obviously in our indoor environment. So if we can open up the windows, it's very helpful. And again, these are hormone disruptors. POPs, which are persistent organic pollutants. These were outlawed, I think, in the 70s. DDT is one of the things that was outlawed, but we still find them in our environment. They do not go away, which is why they're called persistent organic pollutants. We don't know how to break them down. Okay, they're still here. And there's not a whole lot we can do about them other than, just try to stay away from things like asbestos and things like that. Heavy metals. So heavy metals are naturally occurring and we're exposed to them. So the biggest heavy metals that I pay attention to are mercury, aluminum, and arsenic. So how are we exposed to those? With mercury, we're mainly exposed to those if we have silver or amalgam filling. So in our mouth, it's very close to our brain and it leaks out into our body. If you do have them removed, it has to be done very, very carefully. And then another source is if you burn coal or if you're in a city that's burning coal, the coal will emit mercury. So places like China, which has a lot of pollution, you can get mercury poisoning from that. And everyone's a little bit different in how their body handles toxins. Some people are very good at eliminating them, and some people just genetically have a harder time eliminating them. Arsenic, I'm going to skip to arsenic. Arsenic is basically found in rice, found more in brown rice than white rice, which might be surprising. And one of the best ways to help eliminate that is not to eat as much rice, and then to make sure that you always rinse your rice very, very thoroughly. Okay, our detoxification organs. Again, I think most people think of our digestive system, pooping it out as our biggest one. Well, it's not. Our biggest detoxification organ is our skin. A surface area, it's huge. And that's also an area that takes in a lot of toxins, again, with our lotions and our potions. But we can eliminate toxins through our sweat. So it's really important for us to sweat. So doing things like hot yoga, exercising to a point where you're sweating, going to saunas, infrared saunas, is very, very important to help move toxins out. Our lungs, a lot of people don't think of lungs as being a detoxification organ, but we breathe in oxygen and release CO2. And if we don't have a really good exchange with that, we're going to become more acidic and just to have more inflammation. So we have to have a good exchange there. Our liver is our most powerful detoxification organ. That's really where it all happens. The liver gathers things up and mixes things with other ingredients, and then it moves it into our bile and packages everything up, moves it out into our bile, into our digestive system, or into the kidneys to be urinated out. Kidneys. I just mentioned kidneys. So kidneys is a detoxification organ. It's where we are able to process the urine and then excrete it. And then, of course, our digestive system. So our digestive system packages it up and excretes it out. So we have to make sure we're having at least one bowel movement a day, a really good one a day, or these toxins get reabsorbed. So it is important to make sure that your digestive system is healthy and it's working well, and we give it a rest once in a while. And sometimes that's what we do when we do a detox program, is we kind of give it a rest and get things moving out. Things are, again, I mentioned, are packaged up in bile that's produced in the liver, and then it's taken to the large intestine, well, actually small intestine and the large intestine. And things like excess hormones are dumped out there, your toxins are dumped out there. And again, if it's recycled, we might have a hormonal imbalance. Okay, and I'm not even going to talk about thoughts or our ants, but that means automatic negative thoughts, and those are toxic too. Okay, so here are some low tox habits to practice. So some things that might be kind of easy, don't take a whole lot of time. So taking your shoes off when you get into the house, that's an immediate thing. So it's leaving the pesticides, it's leaving a lot of dirt at your front door. And so you're not bringing it into the carpet. If you have animals, if you have small children, that's really, really important. But it's important for you too if you're a big person, an adult. Okay, replacing your furnace filter can be very good, and reducing dust and things like that. And it just pulls things out a little bit better. Open up your windows. So letting all the chemicals that we bring inside of our house, again, on our couches, on our furniture, things like that, let them go out the house. Soak fresh produce in your sink with baking soda to try to move some of the pesticides and herbicides. Vacuum and wet dust. Your saunas for your skin. Turn your phones off. That's an easy one, and put it on airplane mode when you go to bed. Avoid fragrance products when possible. Now, I think that's possible a lot of the time. So things as simply as scented candles or your air fresheners, things you hang in your car, your dryer sheets, the fragrances that are put into your laundry detergent. Those are pretty easy to trade out. Store your food in glass as much as you possibly can, or you can store them also in something, the silicone baggies, so not in plastic, but silicone baggies. I think silicone is very safe as long as it's not heated up. There's some controversy about heating up the silicone. And opt for non-toxic cleaning products when possible. Now, you're not going to be able to do all of these. Rome wasn't built in a day. Me personally, I would say one of the areas where I'm still kind of lacking in is my cleaning products, okay? And some of my personal as well is lacking a little bit, but you kind of pick and choose. And so this next slide is just for the more visual person to help you. It's just taking, 5 things here. Open up the windows, take your shoes off, regularly vacuum and dust, stop buying the scented candles, and turn your phone off or put it on airplane mode. Okay. So choose maybe 2 or 3 things that you can do this week. I'm going to add a couple things here. Try to buy as organic as you possibly can. They've done some studies where if a person's put on a totally organic diet, that circulating pesticide levels drop by 90%. Let's say it's 70%. Okay, that's still a huge drop and will do you a ton of good. And then the other thing, and I haven't really talked about this, is that we need to be drinking filtered water to get things like chlorine out. Filtered water, I don't like fluoride in our water. I don't think we need it. It's a neurotoxin. It's not so bad on your toothpaste, but to actually be ingesting it and drinking it is 2 different things. So I like to use a reverse osmosis system. And there's some on the counter reverse osmosis systems. ProPure is one of them, which does remove fluoride and it remineralizes the water. It's a slow filtering system because it's doing so much. You can buy something for underneath the sink. You can buy a Berkey, which is over the sink. But, you know, work towards that. Work towards having a water system and not using water bottles and not using tap water. Okay, as far as foods are concerned, probably one of the biggest families that could be helpful for us is the cruciferous family because it offers sulfur and it really is an important part of phase 2 of the liver detoxification. So we have a phase 1, phase 2. I'm not getting into that really during this particular talk video, but I'm going to talk about the food. So your arugula, what goes with cruciferous family, your arugula, your bok choy, your broccoli. Arugula might be surprising to some people, but it's got that tanginess to it, which is the sulfur. Mustard, radishes, there's quite a kale, there's quite a list here so that you can pick and choose from and try to have maybe something from the cruciferous family daily. There's quite a variety. You can do that daily, put them in your smoothies, make salads, things like that. Onions and garlic are also really helpful. Okay, my favorite detox boosting supplements would include vitamin C and NAC. They are both the backbone of something called glutathione, which is right here. Glutathione is like flypaper to toxins. It's made basically in your liver. And so boosting up this particular substance is really helpful in pulling toxins out. Your B vitamins are really important as far as the phase 1 and phase 2 of detoxification in the liver. Milk thistle also really boosts things up, and something called phosphatidylcholine also is part of bile, which moves the toxins out. So these are my favorite detox boosting supplements. And then I did add this one slide here, little artistic license here. I am a yoga instructor, and again, sweating and moving your body is a great way of moving toxins, not only out of your body, moving the lymph system. It's also a great way of just being more gentle in our head and not having as many toxic thoughts. So that sums it up on our environmental toxins. I hope that was helpful. Try to do a couple things this week, and I will see you next week.